This is The Shift. Each week, we sit down with remarkable people to explore their stories and the moments that define them. I'm Luke Nesler, and our first official guest is Jarrod Harper, former collegiate and NFL football player and rock star real estate agent for The Real Brokerage. Dude, thanks for being
Absolutely.
being here today,
having us, man.
This show is important to me, and it's not just a business show. So the people that I've carefully curated as far as guests were carefully picked by myself and Anthony with Sparks Media because of what we wanted the show to be.
Yeah.
And dude, you're the first guest.
No, I appreciate that,
So
man, for sure.
I'm excited to have you on. The shift, and we call it the moments that made us. The reason we're doing this podcast the way we're doing it is because my story, which I'll quickly give you some background on, of what took me from CEO of a marketing agency to what I've done in real estate over the last 5 years, is because of a critical moment that woke me up and made me realize, like, I'm in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah.
And it was we were just talking about our kids before we jumped on, and I have a 2.5-year-old, one on the way. You've got 2 little kids of your own.
Yep.
My wife and I struggled for 3 years to get pregnant, which when, the first 6 months, I was like, whatever, that's part of it. And then we started going through infertility treatments, and we're at, different medical practices, and nothing was working, and watching my wife just break and it go on for 3 years, did multiple things to me. It broke me, made me realize how selfish I was, what I thought I cared about, I didn't. I'm a control freak, and you're probably the same way. People that do things that we do like to be in control. It was the first time in my life I wasn't able to fix the problem. I just had to watch, and got to the point to where I wasn't even sad that I couldn't be a dad. I was just devastated watching my wife cry herself to sleep for 3 years. What that did was wake me up to how unsatisfied I was with my former business that I'd built. I didn't like anything about it or anybody about it.
Yeah.
What most people probably would have done would have just been like, this is life. This sucks.
Yeah.
The whole victim mindset. For me, it was the shift, which is why we call this the shift. It was that breaking point that became a breakthrough. And I realized I am the king of my castle. I'm the person that's in charge of my destiny. So I took what was a bad situation and used it to completely change my life.
Right.
So when we were thinking of, and I've had podcasts over the years and I enjoy doing them, and they're great branding opportunities and things like that, but I wanted to do something special this time. And I wanted to do a show that anybody that's done anything unique and great, like you guys have done, has that version.
100%.
And we wanted to do a show to where we could bring guests on that have done exciting things, obviously hear about what it is you're doing, but really tell your story of, what most people might not even look at as a tough situation. Like, a lot of people that have gone through addiction or domestic abuse or rape or, have witnessed murders, like that's some serious stuff. But what I realized was that thing that might've seemed small to other people, which is just like, oh, you couldn't get pregnant. Dude, it rocked my world.
It's draining, man.
It changed my life.
Right.
So I'm very appreciative of that. And, I told you on the phone when I was like talking to you about this, I know enough about you to know, dude, he's got to have a crazy story, but I don't know what it is. So I'm going to go on this journey with the guests as well, as far as hearing really hearing your story for the first time. So again, thank you for being willing to come on and be vulnerable and talk to us. So I guess setting it up, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Jarrod Harper. I'm with Real Broker. I'm a real estate agent professional here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Licensed in both Maryland and West Virginia. My fiance's licensed in West Virginia and PA, so cover the tri-state. Former athlete, college athlete, and professional athlete. From born and raised in Frostburg, Maryland. So small town, everyone knows everyone. And just one thing that since I was a young kid that I kind of carried with me throughout my entire life, right, is like just having a chip on my shoulder. My plan A from the time I was 5 years old was, and you can ask any of my teachers, they're like, well, Jarrod, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, well, I want to be a professional athlete. Okay, well, what sport? I'm like, football. And, you know, being from a small town, not a lot of people really make it out or get opportunities like that to go on and to be able to play at the level that I was able to play at, especially the Division I level. Not many people get scholarships. And so, you know, my goal from a young age was, you know, I want to play Division I football. I don't want my parents to have to pay for college. And, you know, after I play, you know, collegiately, I want to have an opportunity to continue my career further on. And so, you know, just growing up, you know, trials and tribulations. One thing you may not know, Luke, or you may know just from following me on social media, but, you know, I was 5 years old, I lost my mom. We were on family vacation and she had a heart attack, passed away in her sleep in Ocean City. So that was something that, and again, I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I look at my son, he's 4 years old, right? And you know, it's kind of like, okay, that was one of the first hardest things I've ever had to go through.
Yeah.
But
at a young age to where you don't know how to go through
exactly. So, but, you know, I think that's made me who I am today, that she's always been my motivation, my why, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, just going through that, I've always carried that with me. And so, you know, going through, you know, high school and having a lot of success and, you know, getting college opportunities and scholarships. You know, I came up here for a game when I was in 8th grade and with my stepmom. I'm forever grateful for my stepmom. She's been in my life since I was 6. She is my mom. Mm-hmm. But I looked at her after the game. It was like Pat White, Steve Slayton, that era of Mountaineer football, right? Yeah. Which everyone knows about. And I looked at her, they played Louisville. They came back, won the game. And I was like, dang, this is where I want to go to school at, right?
Yeah.
And so went through the recruiting process. Coach Castile, which he just retired. Congratulations, Coach Castile. He's a great coach. Hope he enjoys retirement. But he was who recruited me and gave me an opportunity to come here to West Virginia. Forever grateful to that. And again, another shift, right? After the Orange Bowl, when West Virginia went and played Clemson, pretty much majority of the defensive staff left and went to Arizona.
Okay.
So Coach Castile, you know, I had an opportunity to follow Coach Castile to go to Arizona, but at the time I had been committed to West Virginia for over a year, right? And so now we're talking about, okay, an hour and 15 minutes to Morgantown or across the country, right? And, you know, we didn't have opportunities like NIL like these kids do now. So, you know, could my parents have made it work and been able to come to my games? Yes. And, you know, I'm blessed and thankful that my parents were in a position to be able to do things like that, right? But again, not every kid, especially my teammates that I play with, you know, parents can come to every home game. So that was big for me. So I stuck with my commitment and I came here and, you know, made the most of my opportunities while I was here. I was here for 5 years. I redshirted my freshman year. And I would say probably the second biggest thing that I went through that I never really dealt with ever in my career was injury. So after my sophomore year, had shoulder surgery on my labrum, my left shoulder, and then came back, was healthy, went through fall camp. Everything was good. Hurt my shoulder in my junior year, my right shoulder this time. Tore my labrum again. Continued to play the rest of the season. Had surgery after the season, so I missed spring ball and all of winter workouts basically after my sophomore year, and then again after my junior year. So, you know, going through and being a kid that, or a player that never had injury, and then having to deal with that, I'm like, dang, like, you know. So, but again, you know, make the most of my opportunities, right? Like it's a minor setback for a major comeback. That's how I always looked at it. Yeah. And you know, with no rain, there's no sun, right? Or there's no flowers, right? 100%. So, and then came back, had a great senior year, had opportunity to set myself up in position to be a late round pick in the 2016 NFL draft. Ended up going undrafted. And so that was another thing, right? Like, you know, I had family come over, or, you know,
So you were fully expecting it. You had a watch party and everything. Yeah,
so fully expecting it. And again, I wasn't a day 1 guy or a day 2 guy. I was going to be a day 3 guy. Late round pick, 5 through 7 was my grade. And so.
Do you have an agent at that point that's telling you where they, okay. Yeah. So it's not just you guessing, it's,
Yeah, went through the entire process all the way up to, you know, obviously draft prep. Had a great pro day here at West Virginia. Talked to a lot of teams leading up to that point, and then even following pro day. And then, it's so crazy because your phone rings off the hook, and then the day of the draft, it's silent. And so it's like, stay close to your phone. And so day 3, I remember the Raiders had a pick coming up in the 7th round. So round 5 goes, round 6 goes, 7th round's getting ready to start. The Raiders have a draft pick. They need a safety. My agent calls me. He's like, "Hey, Jarrod, just got off the phone with the GM with the Raiders." He's like, "Stay close to your phone. You could be getting a call." No call comes, right? So now the draft comes to a conclusion, and now I'm sitting there with all my family, and that was tough, right? Just there's a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure, and also just didn't want to let people down. That was the biggest thing, right? Because again, I'm from such a small town, so everyone knows who I am,
right?
But again, minor setback for a major comeback. Jacksonville had an opportunity. I signed an undrafted free agent deal with Jacksonville.
How quick does that happen?
It's pretty quick.
So was that I imagine a pretty big low, or you just like this is as bad as it could get, or were you like that could happen and you were kind of prepared?
Yeah, no.
it?
So I think, just having my agent in my corner and just going through all the scenarios and possibilities of what could happen, right? Like, obviously it's not what I wanted to happen, but you have to take everything into consideration, right? My dad always told me don't count your chickens before the eggs hatch, right? So, I was prepared for that, but again, just having all my family around and friends, close friends, we kept it small. The watch party, but that was tough for me.
So then Jacksonville, so you go undrafted.
Yep.
Do they call immediately?
Yeah,
or is
so it was
next
later.
day,
It was later that night.
Oh, wow.
Jacksonville called, and so then I was going down for rookie minicamp. Signed an undrafted free agent deal. Went down there, and had a great camp. And then going through preseason, had a great preseason, great fall camp, and it's crazy because 2 years prior they had drafted a safety from Louisville in the 3rd round, so it was a high pick. I'm playing with guys like, Jalen Ramsey, Barry Church, Tayshaun Gibson, AJ Bouye. So, we had a loaded backfield that year in 2017 when Jacksonville, had a run at the Super Bowl. And so, last preseason, going into the last preseason game, and again, as an undrafted guy, you have to make the 53-man roster. If you're a draft pick, there's probably a good chance that as long as you do what you need to do in camp and obviously perform in the preseason games, you'll probably make it. At worst, you'll go to practice squad and then probably get bumped up later on due to injury or whatever may happen, right? So going into that last preseason game, Jacksonville actually ended up cutting the 3rd round pick safety that they drafted 2 years prior.
Okay.
And so, I had guys like, Barry Church and Jalen Ramsey, talking to me like, "Hey, you have an opportunity to make the roster. You just go out and do what you've been doing the previous 3 preseason games, and let God do his thing." And so, first play of the game against the Falcons in the Superdome in Atlanta, I'm on punt. I go down and go make a tackle. I lay out sideways to go make a low tackle, and my teammate came and blindsided me inadvertently, right? It wasn't on purpose.
Of course.
And so I suffered, a major concussion. Oh, wow. That was my 9th concussion.
Oh, wow.
And so
did the others happen all in college or from high school on?
High school on.
Wow.
And again, back then, concussions weren't really such a huge thing, right? Sure. They weren't really monitored, and I can remember going through Pee Wee just like, I'm seeing starts, so we'll go get some water. And, okay, well, that's probably it's first sign of a concussion, right?
Yeah.
And so, who knows how many I truly had, but, 9 documented. And so, being now you're an employee in the NFL, right? Like,
right.
Okay, what's in it for me, or what can you do for me now? So, I went to IR, and came back late in the season, like week 6. But they kept me on IR for the remainder of the year. And so after the season ended, you know, and I was healthy. I was working out the whole time while I was down there and stuff. But, you know, once the season ended, you know, everyone kind of goes their own way for a little bit, and you have obviously exit meetings with coaches. And so they were excited to have me come back. They were excited that I was healthy, I was cleared. And, but again, that was another hurdle that I had to go through, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of things are out of my control at that point. You know, I can't help that I've had that many concussions.
Yeah.
And so, probably March, I would say, I get a call, getting ready to go on vacation, but we got to report back in April, right? Get a call, I got released from Jacksonville. And so that was tough, right? You know, all my life I had to go on a dream to make it to that point, and I'm at the tip top of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
And now as quickly as I'm at the top, now I'm back down at the bottom. So, but again, all things happen. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. You know, I have a strong faith in God and you know, my religion, and so, you know, I just put it in God's hands. Whatever's meant to be will be for me.
What year was this?
2017.
March of 2017. Okay.
Yeah, so 2017. Had a lot of calls from a lot of teams that were interested, but again, the big thing that came up was, well, Jarrod, you know, looking at your medical history and the amount of concussions, you know, you're basically, without them coming out and saying, you know, you're a liability at this point, because for us to go out and invest X amount of money into you and sign you to a contract, right? Like, we're on the hook for that. So that was a huge turning point for me personally, obviously professionally. And so, you know, contemplated retiring, and actually I did end up retiring. And then Hamilton up in the CFL, the Tiger Cats, they called me. I signed a contract to go up there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was in 2018.
Okay.
And I told my parents, I said, look, you know, the goal is to play in the NFL, and I don't want to be in Canada. Right. And so, you know, I said, if nothing shakes out from this, you know, I'm not going to be one of those people that continue to spin my wheels. You know, the clock is ticking. I'm only getting older, right? Yeah. And, you know, the longer you're out of it, you know, another draft class comes through, right? And so, you know, now the odds are stacked even, you know, higher against you. So, went up there, ended up getting released, and then, you know, that was when I came to the reality of, look, you know, your playing days are probably over. But again, it's super tough to go through that. But again, you know, everything happens for a reason, and here we are today.
So that's really that's when your second life started.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like so many athletes, and for some, as sad as it is, it's the guy that was a star high school quarterback. Yeah. And that was where he peaked out.
Right.
And it's a shame to see that, because it's like they just can't find themselves, and that was their whole identity. With you, it would have been so easy for that to be your story.
Right.
I mean, you were at the pinnacle of every level that you played at, and then relatively quickly, and you're still super young at that point. Yeah. You're still super young now. That life's all over. What was that like? Is that what it felt like? Or were you already like, did you have aspirations of doing something else, and you were like, okay, now I've got a space for that? Yeah. Or did it feel like, what the hell do I do with my life?
That's exactly what it felt like. You know, I have a 4-year degree in criminology. You know, had I not played at the Division I level, I probably would have went to law school, right? Yeah. But again, balancing, you know, going to law school and playing Division I college athletics, it's nearly impossible, right? Yeah, from a workload standpoint, practice standpoint, school standpoint. And so, you know, I'm a first generation college grad. And so, you know, one thing that I wasn't going to do was waste the opportunity that West Virginia gave me, and as far as paying for my education. I was going to take full advantage of it and actually get a real degree. And so, you know, I thought, okay, for a second, I want to work for the federal government. Okay, well, what's that look like? Where do I need to start at? Because you're not just going to walk into a federal job, right? Like, you have to start somewhere. So my dad's like, why don't you just go and work for the Maryland State Police? I'm like, Pops, I'm not doing that. You know, again, the way that the world was going and the country was going, I go and put a badge on, I got a target on my back. That's how I looked at it, right? And I got a lot of respect for the men and women that go out and do that job every single day. But that I didn't see myself doing that, right? And so along the way of playing, I've always been someone that's like, okay, I've never been just in the moment, right? Like I'm thinking down the road, what does life look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? And so constantly continue to network and just meet people, because I'm a firm believer of, if you show me the rooms that you're in and your network, that's your net worth, right? And so
you're extremely good at that, by the way.
Thanks.
Before we ever met, I mean, we got connected on social media. Before we ever had even sent each other a DM, I was seeing you everywhere. And, at a lot of the, the Mac functions and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that you understood, you're in this unique club that most people can't get into because they weren't a star athlete, and you've got connections that you didn't take for granted,
right?
And you put yourself in those rooms to where I feel like a lot of people just, there's a lot of athletes that you never really see again, and you were an athlete that your time came and went at West Virginia, but you're still, if you look at the background of all these photos of all these events, like you're in a lot of them. And they're not always real estate events, but there's, the third richest person in West Virginia, and then you're like right over here. So talk to me about that. Was that strategic, or are you just naturally comfortable in social settings and like you're like, hey, I'm going to leverage this, or did you even realize you were doing that?
I think a little bit of both. At one point, I didn't really realize, being in those rooms, what it could do for me, or the opportunities that it may present, or the people that I may meet, right? That, it's not going to do anything for me now, but later on down the road, right? Because I met this person at X event, right? Now this person is connected to so-and-so. And so now, I'm not necessarily leveraging that, but I'm connected with all of those people, where if I wasn't in those rooms, I'd never have those opportunities. And so, after playing college football, I thought I wanted to coach, or after playing in the league, I thought I wanted to get into coaching. And I quickly realized I had an opportunity. I came back, Neil Brown gave me an opportunity to come back and to coach Adai, which I got a ton of respect for him. I was his assistant. He was the defensive backs coach here, co-DC.
What year was this?
This was in 2020, so the height of COVID. And, to come back to my alma mater and be able to put the Flying WV on, but now I'm able to impact, kids that went through the same, I went through that, I lived what they're doing, right? So that was something that, I wanted to impact those kids and be like, look, I've been in your shoes. I'm doing what you're doing. It's hard, it's tough, but, you have to see the bigger picture. So I think, doing that, I got a lot of love and grace out of it. But like you said earlier, Brittany got pregnant with my son. And so
when did she come into the picture?
So
let's take a step back. How did Brittany come in?
So I've known Brittany.
Brittany's his wife, by the way.
Yeah. So I've known Brittany since 2012. And we went to school together. I was a freshman when I met her. I think she was maybe a junior. Again, just friends, right? I would see her in passing. I had a girlfriend at the time. And so, after college, there was a little bit of a break in communication, but still just social media again. It helps you stay connected with people that, you may not see every single day. And so when I came back, that's when her and I got together, took her on a date, and the rest was history. But I think, us being as good of friends as what we were, and having that connection already, it made it a lot easier. So when I came back here, obviously coaching, and I quickly realized, once life happened, and, Zaire is my biggest blessing. That's my son. He's 4 years old now. I sat and weighed the pros and cons of like, okay. And again, let me backtrack a little bit. So Brittany at the time was in real estate. That was her first, that was her first year. 2019 into 2020 was her first year in real estate. So she's been in it 6 years. She was doing real estate. I was coaching. And then Coach Adai left, took a job at Georgia, and had an opportunity to follow him to go to Georgia. But again, it would have been a lateral move, right? So it's not like I I was a GA at the time, and if I would have went to Georgia, I would have been a GA there. And so, again, I wanted to continue to elevate. And again, Brittany was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not, having went through the things that I went through and losing my mom at a young age, you know, it's something that I wasn't willing to have that distance with my family, right? Yeah. Brittany was going to stay here, have Zaire here, and I was going to be in Georgia, right? And so we sat down, weighed the pros and cons. I always had a huge interest in real estate. And we were just talking one night, and she's like, well, why don't we just team up and do real estate? And I'm like, well, you know, let's sit down and really think about this, because this is now, you know, football was all I knew. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, you're taking me out of my extreme comfort zone to something that's kind of foreign, right? But again, opportunity, right? There's, you know, I feel that, you know, you're not failing if you're falling forward, right? And so I saw what she did her first year, had a ton of success. And again, Brittany's been here for so long, so she's leveraged those relationships. She was in property management. And so she's already had a knowledge for real estate, but in a different, you know, obviously from a management standpoint. And so, you know, we weighed the pros and cons, and it just made sense. And so I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going all in. Yeah. Right. So I sat down and had a conversation with Coach Brown and was like, look, you know, this is where I'm at in my life. You know, I'm 27 years old. And, you know, I got a son on the way. And thankfully the NFL gave me a good start to my life. Right. So from a financial standpoint, I wasn't necessarily hurting or needed the money, but also I didn't want to have that distance with my family, right? Like family's everything to me, and being able to spend those, you know, days and nights and weekends with my son, and, you know, take him to get ice cream. Like I put a huge value on that. Yeah, of course. And so, you know, coming into coaching or leaving coaching and going into real estate, honestly it was scary, but what was that shift? No pun intended, but what was that shift like? Like somebody that has only ever known take care of my body, train to be the best I can be on the field. I need to be as fast. I need to be as agile, like knowing the plays. Like you've only ever trained for that, to now taking that mindset and keeping a big portion of it. Because I think athletes make the absolute best entrepreneurs. 100%. I agree with that. What was that shift like, going from just being a high performance specimen to, okay, now I'm going to do business? Yeah. Was it just naturally like you attacked business with that same mindset? I had to. Yeah. Right. Like, so I'm such a routine person, right? Like, you know, every day, whether I was, you know, playing football or now business, right? Like I'm up at 4:15. I'm a big mind, body, spirit guy, right? So wake up, get my mind right. Mm-hmm. I see your Instagram posts. The body piece. First thing in the morning. Yeah. So the body piece comes obviously from, you know, going and working out. You know, that gives me some mental clarity and gives me a good jump to my day. And then spiritually just, you know, get my word in. And that now the tone is set for the day. Yeah. And so I took that same, like you said, you know, how I trained and how I, you know, ate, nutrition, everything that I had to do from an athletic standpoint. Now I just transition it to a business standpoint. And so it was tough, but like you said, I think athletes make the best entrepreneurs because there's a hunger to it, right? Like nothing, we know from a young age, like if you want to do and play collegiate or, you know, further, it's not going to be handed to you. No. You got to work for it every single day. Yeah. And if you're not working for it, someone else is. Yeah. And they're going to take it from you. Yeah, 100%. And so that's how I took the same thing with business, right? Like, so, you know, if I'm not constantly learning something, reading something, talking to people, networking, right? Like someone else is going to do that. Yeah. And so I'm the type of person where I want to be the best. Yeah. And so I just took that mentality from being a football player and just transitioned it to a business standpoint. So what you guys have done, what initially caught my attention and introduced me to you was, I think it was after you left your previous brokerage and you guys had moved to Real. Yeah. Which I want to talk a little bit about that. But it was what you were doing with marketing. Mm-hmm. And how you would introduce yourselves and then introduce new agents that joined your team. Yeah. And it was
it didn't look like Morgantown, West Virginia. It looked like it belonged in Vegas, or it was crisp. It was clean. It was high fashion. I love all my real estate peers, and there's a lot of great real estate agents. But if you look at your videos compared to what the typical, agent in Morgantown, West Virginia has put out over the years, it didn't look anything like it. Yeah. So it really, and coming from a marketing background, I was like, man, this is pretty rad. Talk to me about that. Was that, obviously we're similar. We like nice things. Yeah. We like nice cars. Yeah. We dress very similar, crisp, clean stuff. I think a lot of that's just naturally you. But so did that come natural, or it had to have? You didn't just study and learn. Like, was that just you just had a natural eye? You and your wife both had natural eyes for the message, or what was it?
Honestly, I think that from a marketing standpoint, Brittany is brilliant when it comes to a marketing standpoint. But at the same time, we complement each other really well, because it's like, I'll go back to what you said, like, the typical agent here in Morgantown, and there's nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah,
what they do from a marketing standpoint. But our biggest thing was, okay, now we left previous brokerage, and now we're coming to something new that no one in North Central West Virginia knows about, or even West Virginia in general. It was brand new. I think at the time when Brittany and I came over, there may have been 4 agents that were with Real. And that wasn't just here in Morgantown. I think there was 2 agents down in the Southern Panhandle. But when we left our previous brokerage, people were like, well, why would they leave a brokerage that is number 3 or top 3 in sales volume?
As far as local brokerages, that was probably the most, I call it high fashion, but modern. just modern, like had a different look and feel. They already were there. You guys kind of went out on your own and just took it to a different level. Yeah.
So, Real is a national brokerage, right? And so, it's all throughout the United States and Canada. Yeah. And so we started to see all these big agents at, Sotheby's, the Real Compass, EXP, that have huge businesses, huge networks, that are now leaving their previous brokerage and making a shift over to Real brokers, right? And so we're like, well, what's going on? Like, why are all these they always say, like, the grass isn't always greener, but, obviously they have a ton of success where they are. Why are they coming over here? There's something that's over here that's attracting these high producers. And so we just started doing our research and started connecting with people again, networking and just asking questions. I think that if you don't ask questions, you'll never get the answer, right? And so we started to see that shift, and we connected with our sponsor, Ryan Zook, who's down in Virginia. Forever grateful for that connection, that relationship that we have, because he's been phenomenal, just from a support standpoint, right? And so saw that, and we obviously made the shift and we brought Real here, but from a marketing standpoint, we just want to be different. Yeah. Any agent can go out, take listing photos, right? Put the sign in the yard, put that home on the MLS, call it a day, right? Okay, but for us, like, okay, how can we truly market this property, right? Yeah. What's the ideal buyer going to be for this property, right? Where are they going to come from? What are they going to be looking for in a home, right? And so, with Real, what they do, they're huge on social media with these creative videos. And so, and this, it's a copycat world, right? So like, okay, how can we take what someone's doing over here in LA and then kind of, gear it down to fit Morgantown and where we are here, right? And so
make it your own.
Exactly.
What you're putting out, never once did I get the impression I was like, okay, this is definitely somebody else's idea, and they're just trying to be like that. You guys took inspiration and modeled it, but it's, what you've done is completely authentic to you and your wife.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. So, and so that, we just kind of took what, from a marketing standpoint, we just wanted to be different. And so, every property I feel has a story, right? And it's our job, if the seller is going to trust us to go out and sell probably their largest asset, right? like, okay, they know that we're not just going to do the basics.
Yeah.
We're going to go above and beyond. And I think it doesn't matter the price point, right? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm taking a listing for 100,000 or if I'm taking a listing for, $1.5 million.
Sure.
We're going to do the same thing. And the client is going to feel the same type of, relationship with us and know that we're doing the same thing that we do for those high-end properties.
Yeah. When did you fall in love with this new life? So again, shifting from athlete to entrepreneur, clearly, like, athlete is in the past now.
Yeah.
There's always pieces of that stay with you, but
100%.
it's not like there's this piece of you where it's like, all right, you could tell he's struggling. I mean, look, there's some very famous West Virginia athletes that for a very long time, like, struggled to find their footing.
Right.
I come from the cycling and the motocross background. It's very common for a motocross athlete that's his whole identity.
Yeah.
When he leaves, he just ends up being a rep for a motorcycle company. Like, you have found your thing. Now, your wife was already in it, but like, you've completely come in and like, you're excellent at what you do. When did that, was there a moment that you woke up and you're like, yeah, this is like 100% who I am now?
Yeah, no, there definitely was a moment, but see, my whole thing is, like you said, obviously athlete is in the past, but you're bringing things that you learned, right, to incorporate into business, right, and to have success in business. So one thing that was big for me when I transitioned out of coaching, and I love West Virginia, I believe blue and gold, right? Like, this school gave me everything and gave me a starting point. How can I still stay connected to the university, right? And how can I still, even though I'm not hands-on with the football team or hands-on with the coaches with West Virginia, how can I still be connected? And so one of the goals that whenever I did transition to real estate out of coaching was, I want to be that agent when coaches are coming in or coaches are going out. They know who to call, and that I'm going to help them, or Brittany and I are going to help them make that transition, right? Yeah. And so, obviously, having been in their shoes and played, right? Like, we already have that connection, right? So now, having been here for years, and knowing where we live, Morgantown, that was one of my goals, is I wanted to be still connected to the football team. And so, I think the big thing for me was, just something that I love about it's a hustle. If you're not working, no one's cutting me a paycheck every month, right? Like, we're not W-2. If you're not working, if you're not hustling, you're not gonna make any money, right? And so I think that from football, the same thing. If you weren't on the grind constantly, you're gonna get passed up on. And so the same, I take that same mindset and implement it into real estate, right? And so, I think the hustle is really what attracted me to real estate. And then just, obviously once I got in and truly learned it, just the opportunity it's limitless, right?
I've never talked to anybody about this, but I'm curious if you are of the same mindset. So I think some of us are wired to where chaos is always spoken of in a bad way.
Negative, yeah.
And what I've realized is I actually perform the best in chaos. And I've realized over the last, as I was transitioning out of my former business into this one, I don't like all chaos.
Yeah.
I didn't like the previous chaos, but the business that I'm in now is full of chaos, and I seek it. When I'm on day 3 of vacation, you
got to put fires out.
Yeah. I mean, like the last vacation we went on, I bought a $1.1 million house because I literally got bored, and I'm driving around and I'm looking, now I'm like underwriting deals, looking at deals. I had no intention to buy a beach house. We find this house, and like now I'm negotiating, and like it got chaotic in the last 3 days of vacation. Like, I seek that. In football, when you step on that field, it's like, okay, it's the same thing as when you get out of your bed. When you step out of bed and you go into the workplace, that's like you stepping on the field.
100%.
From the time you step on the field until the game is over, there isn't a second that's not chaotic.
Exactly.
And if you let your guard down, you're going to get your head taken off, or you're going to get scored on.
Yep.
Do you seek chaos?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, some people they run from it, and some people thrive in it. And I'm the same way as you, Luke. Like the business that we're in, there's always going to be something. And so, you know, some people, I think that's why some people, they're like, oh, well, they see, you know, they're selling houses. How hard can it be, right? But it's until you're in it, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I think that's why you see so many people like, oh, I want to be a realtor. Okay, they get licensed, they step into it for a year or 2 years, and then year 3, they're like, oh, I can't, I'm done, right? And so, like you said, I think I thrive in chaos and madness. When the bullets are flying, I think that's when the best of me comes out.
I think that any great entrepreneur, I mean, look, there are people that have done it way bigger than us, but I think from us to the Mark Cubans and Art Rooney's, like, we all have something in common, and it's we seek chaos.
Yeah.
You're comfortable in it.
Yep.
That's when you're at your best.
Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%, man. Dude, it has been it's been awesome hearing a little bit about your story. I have it's the reason that you were the first person I invited to be on the show. I have a tremendous amount of respect from you in all facets.
I appreciate that for sure.
The dad you are, I always look to other people that I'm like, man, they're doing the things that I want to do, but they're also being a killer parent.
Yeah.
You and your wife are awesome parents, and
appreciate it.
You're making it look cool all the way. Like, you know,
gotta have fun doing it, man.
You have to. It's you guys are just incredible people. I hope to be able to spend a little bit of time with you and your wife.
Absolutely.
And we're both Summit Society members.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make sure we end up at the same events. Yeah, man, absolutely. But dude, it's been a pleasure hearing your story.
I appreciate you having me on, Luke. This is awesome. I think it's great that you're doing this, getting different people from different walks of life and letting them come on and kind of tell their story. I think it's great.
You're forever going to be the first one on. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Man.
All right, brother.